Here we go. Okay. So good morning, everybody, or good afternoon. Today we have a guest speaker in ES 1000. This is Lucas Shaw, and Lucas is going to he's going to talk to us about his career in computer science. So we'll have other guest speakers coming in over time, just depending on different fields and different people who are willing to donate their time to us, which is really great. You'll notice I have not completed the entire class. I have some stuff hidden from you guys because I'm not really sure the order in which they'll occur. But this week, Lucas will talk to us. Next week, we're going to go over to the library and do some research over there. And then the following week, we have another guest speaker, Matt Legler, and some of you may know him. And then we have some people coming over from the Student Success Center. Then we have a few weeks where I don't have plans yet. And then when we come up to October 28th, we are going to prepare for Advising Day, which I think is really important. So we're going to make sure that we know what your academic goals are, and we're going to help you get to them so that before Advising Day, when you go visit with your advisor, you'll be able to make sure that you have a plan and that you can accomplish what you want to while you're here with us. So with that, I'm going to pass around a sheet of paper. This is just a sign-in sheet so I can give you credit for being here today. And with that, I will turn it over to Lucas Shaw.
All right.
So there you go. Yes,
Wonderful to have you here. Thank you. Hi, I'm Lucas Shaw. I'm the database administrator here at Northwest College. Been here about 5 years. Came here right around COVID starting time, so that was fun. I started my academic career here at Northwest College. Well, I guess before that was Cody High School, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do, so I declared a math major and English major and double majored in those two things. I knew I didn't want to teach, so when I got up here, I looked into computer science. They didn't have computer science here at the time when I was here. And I'd always been interested in computers, and I really enjoyed, like, I don't know if you ever used the Turtle programs like Logo or whatever, where you control the turtle with coordinates. I used to love that when I was in grade school, and I had fond memories of all my computer classes, so I went to that and graduated top of my class and still didn't think I knew enough. Took a semester off and dug in the dirt for a summer, and went to grad school after that, and got my master's in computer science with a focus on artificial intelligence, specifically genetic algorithms and simulation. I did a simulation of virus spreading between cities. This was pre-COVID, so this was like right after 9/11, about 2 years after 9/11, I guess, when I started. And anyways, so did a model of flu virus in a city and having it spread between 13 most busy airports in the country. 13 was just a random number. There was not a reason for that, but anyways, that was a fun project, and it kind of got me kind of more into kind of programming and being more of an analyst, kind of analytical thinking. So yeah, if you're interested in data or trends, statistics, computer science is a good field to get into because you can use your statistics knowledge to program simulations and all sorts of cool things. After that, I went to a small company called Snowfly, and I was a programmer there and kind of a database guy. I didn't know anything about databases. I'd never taken a database class in my life. I still haven't. And I'm a DBA. So I learned on the job, all that stuff. And my job there was integrating new clients' data into our system, trying to reward people on metrics that they have provided to us for performance. And from there, I found out about a job with the state auditor's office as a analyst there, a business process analyst, and spent about 12 years there doing a lot of database queries and analyzing issues with the ERP system, the Enterprise Resource Personnel. I can't remember what ERP stands for. That's what Google's for. Yeah, so I spent a lot of time there working on reports, doing. We ran the payroll system, so we did all the payroll cycles. The thing that Tracy does, where she runs all the little jobs in college to pay everyone, we did those each month. We had a team of 4 that we split the year and alternated the years there. I didn't really have a plan going into college, which I kind of regret because I think I lost a lot of time. So if you guys can make plans sooner than later, I would highly recommend it.
So you went to school here first?
Yes.
And then did you go straight to UW or?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. So.
Yeah, I did 3 years here. Somehow I messed up my timing with my double major and wasn't able to do it. And in fact, I actually was only awarded my math degree at first. Yeah, so it took me a while. And then switching majors at that late in the game added a year to my time at UW as well. So I was 6 years getting my 4-year degree. And then after that, I took about 4 years doing my master's, which is a little long. I didn't have an idea going into your master's. Typically, a master's student knows kind of what they want to study and kind of an area, and they have maybe an idea for a project, and they get, an advisor or someone to kind of support them in that. And I didn't have that when I went to college. I just took the placement tests and did good and just started doing classes and had the head of the department give me a kind of a job trying to get me into one of his projects, but I was woefully unprepared for that project, and I ended up getting a different position with the AI teachers there. That's kind of where I got my start with AI. It was an interest of mine, but it wasn't something I knew anything about, and I'd taken one of the classes, and the professor liked that I was, good in the class, and I was helping my classmates, and I was tutoring on the side and that kind of stuff, and helping people, for class. So it's kind of been something that I've always done.
So you were kind of in on the ground floor with AI then?
No.
Not so much?
Genetic algorithms are old. They're from the 70s. Yeah, so genetic algorithms are a search algorithm for searching problems. So if you can represent your problem as an array of things that you can change easily, you can make a big old population of solutions, test them all with a fitness function, they call it, and pick the best ones, keep them around, maybe tweak them a little bit for another population, and keep doing that over and over again. It's an iterative kind of process that kind of narrows in on a solution, and they're pretty cool because they kind of take after kind of concepts from evolution, where they have a concept of mutation. You throw a percentage of mutation on your population to kind of force it to get out of little local divots or spikes in your search space that you're looking through. Which is a big problem for those kind of algorithms. They tend to kind of gravitate towards a nice peak, and when there might be a huge peak over here. So anyways, that's one way to get around that. There are other search algorithms in AI. There's decision trees and all sorts of like deterministic things, but there's also those random ones. And the randomness is kind of what helps get you out of those local maximum minimum things. But yeah, after 12 years at the state auditor's office, my wife found the job here on Facebook, and she's like, "Hey, you can work at Northwest College." And so I applied, and yeah, the rest is history, I guess. Lately, I'm doing a lot of just updating our certificates for our websites and all the boring things like that that are necessary each year to keep things secure. And but I like to help people out when I can, so I volunteer my time a little bit here and there with other schools, trying to teach people kind of some of the things that I've done. I've been to a few conferences as a speaker, just our local Rocky Mountain user group for our student information system. Just trying to teach people how to use their tools and how to create things that I've had to create here, so they don't have to work as hard. And I really enjoy kind of that opportunity that I get. It's not a normal part of a lot of jobs, so it's really cool to be in a collaborative environment in that respect. But yeah, what else to say?
So and I think what you said was really important, to have a plan, when you start. It's really interesting to me. And I wanted to.
Maybe light years ahead of
Right.
a lot of people.
Well, that's it. But I also think, I'd like to hear your opinion about this, and I'd like to share it with the class, but I had somebody last year told me that computer science people tend to be very creative. And so being creative, you're sort of, the idea of the plan and the 4-year plan and the 6-year plan maybe are not.
Yeah, there is that is my favorite part about computer science. Like, I don't like the non-creative part of my job, like just doing like the certificate updates, that kind of stuff, where it's like, this is the IT stuff. That stuff to me is not. It's challenging in some respects because I am not good at it. I always have to learn it every time.
Right.
And so I'm always learning that stuff, but at the same time, there's no creativity in there that to speak of. I mean, there's a little bit, but mainly it's just your kind of, over time, you kind of develop intuition of how these systems kind of work together. Knowledge also, it's not just intuition, but yeah. So in that regard, it's not as interesting as when I get to make something for the portal, for example. When I get to do some programming, or someone gives me a report that they want me to make, and I've never reported on that data, and I have to go in the database and look around and see what's there and see how things go together, because I don't know it.
Right.
It's something I have to learn. So I enjoy that aspect. But yeah, if I were to give advice about career in life, I would say, if you're going to be in a relationship, get married early. If you're going to have a career, figure out what you want to do early. Get yourself on that path. It'll serve you. It'll be amazing if you do that. I'm a late bloomer when it comes to all the things. I'm a procrastinator. I put everything off to the last minute, so don't do that. Don't be that guy. It's easy to do. That's why I've done it for as long as I have. But,
It's so rewarding on the front end.
sort of, yeah. It's deferred pain, I guess.
Deferred pain, there you go. So as far as like, when you finished here and then you went to UW and got a bachelor's
Mhm.
in computer science and then a master's in computer science. What did you study while you were in your master's program? Was that the AI stuff?
Yeah, that was
Okay.
AI.
Right.
Yeah, as an undergrad at UW, if you go there, they're a very theoretical institution. They're a research institution, so they focus more on theory. Most of the professors there, when I was there, were very active in research with regards to theory, doing proofs of weird mathematical systems, and yeah. So that to me it was interesting and I enjoyed that part, but then I didn't feel like I got any practical anything. So that's why when I graduated, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my career yet. Go ahead.
So you said you studied AI, right?
Mhm.
So what's your opinion on how AI has changed in the last 5 years, and where do you think it's going to be going?
It's a good question. I don't know. I use AI here and there to kind of help me figure things out when I don't feel like Googling very hard. It's a good tool for that. I haven't used it for the creative aspects, creating content and that kind of stuff. I think that's a really interesting area. I don't know that there's a lot of talk about AI replacing people. I don't think that's possible because AI, it can it can sort of find answers for you. There's a lot of error in those, even if you just ask it a simple, question, you might get an outright lie from it, even now. And it's because it's reading all these different sources, trying to, put this stuff together, and it's not a knowledge system. So in AI, there's a lot of different types of AI. There's expert systems, which is kind of an old concept where you build all the knowledge about some field into the system. That's kind of antiquated. A lot of places don't really do that because it's hard. You have to have the experts put the knowledge in the thing. Where AI is kind of a lazy approach where you just give it everything and hope it comes out an answer that makes sense. And they're doing a good job with that, but it still needs guided by human intelligence. You can't be a junior in your field and try to tackle some advanced project just with AI. You might get somewhere. You might actually get something that works, but you will have no idea of the limitations and problems that are in there just because you took computer's word for gospel.
Could I give you an example of this? I just think this is so interesting. So, in May of this year, I was the graduation speaker, and I was writing my graduation speech, and I asked ChatGPT to do an introduction for me. I said, I'm doing a graduation speech. I'd like you to do an introduction. And so I said, I want 3 paragraphs. And I want it to be about this many words. And it came back, and the first paragraph was like my job here, what I did, my education and teaching here. And the second paragraph was how much I loved traveling and how much I loved pets, animals, which is also true. And then the third paragraph, I read it and I was just like, what just happened? Because what it said was that in addition to my background as a scientist, that I had been a performer on Broadway in the 1920s. And, and it went on and said, I was in Twelfth Night, and I was in a play called The Heir to the Hoorah, and that I had graced the stages of Broadway. And I thought to myself, there's so much wrong with this. I mean, first of all, it's just hilarious. I mean, it's like, I was not alive in 1920. Maybe I need to start with that. And it's like, well, I've never been, I mean, I didn't even know what Heir to the Hoorah was, but apparently I was the gracing the stages of Broadway in that play. So you do have to, you have to wait because it will kind of make up weird things. I mean, it was weird.
You should have just stuck with it.
I did.
Like, someone calls you out, you're like, that was a test.
See who picks up and says, no, wait a second, Stop. But I just thought that, I mean, because it was a totally legitimate ask from me. I just wanted to see, and it was like, I got some.
If you're not very explicit in your guidance of the AI, it will go off in weird places. And even if you're pretty specific, like I had a talk I was working on for a conference last year, or this year, I guess, and I fed it my slides and like, I want to make these slides a little more succinct because I tend to just blather and I, just barf on the page with 15 lines of things. And,
you just have a lot to say.
because I'd rather just read the slides and be done. I'm kind of nervous in front of people, so. The more I have that's on the page, the more I figure I'm giving them, if I forget to say something, at least it's in the slides. But anyways, and I asked some questions about my code that I was kind of sharing on this thing, because I was trying to do a tutorial of how to make a card in our portal. And man, it started like hacking my code to bits and like taking stuff out, and it's like, you can't really do that, because if you don't, I had to say, I kind of need to keep this piece here.
Right.
So that's where I think AI is problematic, because unless you really know what you're doing and what you're after, you really can't trust the results. I mean, you just can't. There's just too much bad advice on the internet, and which is the source. Its source, is the internet. So if it had all the programming books and all the, if it was actually consuming books and using those as primary sources, it might be a little bit better. But I mean, just the amount of bad advice on Stack Overflow or those kind of things where random people are just like, oh, you gotta do this. Yeah, no, don't do that. The comments down, there's a long rant by someone else. This guy up here is an idiot. Don't listen to him. You just can't trust everything that comes out of those things. So it's an amazing technology, and it's very useful, but definitely use it cautiously. Do it.
Are you for like using it as like a tool rather than like a crutch to fall back on?
Yeah, I definitely do. I don't even care if it's a crutch, as long as you know. Seriously, I mean, as long as you understand that there's hallucination and things, check the sources, validate what it's given you. Don't just take it at face value, because you will shoot yourself in the foot for sure. Especially if you're using it for something where you're making something in code. Because code, I can write generic code that might be okay, but when you're doing a program and you're making a program, usually you're the expert in whatever you're doing. Like, you have to become the expert. That's one of the things I like about computer science too, is computer science teaches you how to make computer programs and make them efficient, but it's useless by itself. You have to have domain knowledge. That's one of the things that kind of you learn in software engineering later in programs, that you have to develop your domain knowledge in a specific domain to solve a specific problem. That's always what you're doing. You're never just nebulously making programs, unless you have, just use Chord and you're going to make a sort algorithm or something. But you always have some kind of domain knowledge, and that's kind of one of the things that's harder for those AI tools to focus on, because they kind of just they drink from the fire hose, and they don't have the focus that you might need. So using it as a crutch is okay if you're really unfamiliar with like I don't know how to do programming in this language, help me, ChatGPT or whatever. That's fine, because you can learn those kind of concepts. There's a lot of good information, but for doing something real, you really need to kind of have an idea of what you're doing already, so that you can guide, or at least judge, discern the results.
Well, what about AI use in like schools and like colleges and stuff? Are you for that too? Because like to get good at what you're like your profession,
Yeah.
kind of just work with.
Yeah, the concept of 10,000 hours is very important for anything that you want to do. You have to put in the work. You can't shortcut that. My failings and shortcomings as a computer person are due to my focus in some areas and not in other areas. And that's important to know your limitations. Yeah.
So you're saying you wish you were more widespread, so you kind of have an idea of what.
Well, I'm more widespread and I'm less deep in a lot of things. So I have a lot of general things that I know, but there are depths to every aspect of computing that unless you take the time to sit there and learn it, you're not going to get that out of AI. You're not going to get that out of even reading like a couple papers. You gotta really kind of stew in it, think about it a lot.
So Ethan, what are your thoughts on AI? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
After this exchange,
Man,
I really-
I like using it to like, what we were talking about, like, proofread your essays, that's really
Yeah.
nice to have.
Yes.
Like, if you don't have someone with you, you're like, hey, you check this.
I feel sorry for
this
English
date.
teachers now.
I don't know, I've known, like, I've written essays, or like, I've had even pupils in my class or whatever in high school write essays, and they've been flagged for AI, but they didn't use AI. So like, that's where the like error can come in, like he was mentioning. And a lot of the teachers take that really seriously. For example, like my history teacher, he said, if you like plagiarize wrong or use any AI, or like it comes up, he'll fail immediately. He's like, you will get failed, or he doesn't take too kindly to that.
Yeah,
Reminds me that
I think,
one time I ran an experiment with the AI detector. I wrote out an essay that was entirely my own thing, my own research and everything. I had the AI make another essay about the exact same topic, and it flagged mine as having more AI than the actual AI
Oh.
essay.
wow.
So,
Yeah.
Because a lot of the research you're taking from, the AI also pulls from too. Because
Of
like he was
course,
saying,
sure.
it gets all bunched up.
Yeah,
It gives you whatever the best results are, which,
yeah.
I don't know.
It might be your writing style, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I didn't get flagged all the time. I think it was
Yeah.
like one case, and like I explained it, and it wasn't a big deal, but like it still got flagged. It was
Yeah.
still pretty like new, I guess.
I'm not
AI.
familiar with the AI like detector program.
Yeah, no, those are, I don't know. I think those are kind of crazy. I don't know. Within the last like 3-4 years, AI's skyrocketed. Like,
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
kind of what I was thinking.
Like a
so,
lot
yeah.
more students,
Yeah.
like especially teachers in high school, have been on
I-
students about that.
I have regular conversations with Croc. I'm not afraid to say it. A lot of my colleagues do. Sometimes the power of AI is like, so if I have a problem and I Google it, I might find 5 articles that might relate to my problem. And if I read all 5, maybe 2 of them are kind of relevant and one might be useful. You know, these AI tools, they sample all, they can go deeper. You can tell it, think hard on this one or whatever. And they can just find way more sources, kind of help you narrow in on things. If you know enough about your area where you can say, no, that's wrong, you need to, like, this is what you need to kind of focus on, that can help a lot too. It has shortcutted a lot of my troubleshooting, even in the last, few months. Just, I can't get this thing to work. What am I doing wrong?
What is?
Yeah.
I think that's how a lot of people actually use it. I don't know. I've talked
Yeah.
to, like, for example, you,
Yeah.
saying you wrote your speech with it.
I
I
did.
talked to one of my parents. They wrote like a responding email.
Yeah.
They used AI to correct, like fact check it, like we were talking about. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. I talked to a lot of people and they use AI like
Oh, yeah.
constantly. And I don't know. I think it's like it's like good in a way, but it can also be lazy.
I worry about smooth
Yeah.
brain all the time.
About what do you worry?
Smooth brain.
Smooth brain.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't want to be a smooth
Your
brain.
pores is closed.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah, and that is a danger.
I feel like it's making people more like they rely on it more. Like
Yes.
the more you use it, the more you rely on it. It's kind of like the fall off of
I would
using
agree
it.
with that
You
for
know,
sure.
like people get more lazy the more they use because it's easy. Like I could be like, hey, write me
Yeah.
an essay, and then I read over it, and then I put it through something, and then I'm like, that's not good enough.
Yeah.
Rewrite it. I'm gonna keep doing that. You know?
Right.
And
Well, and I use it a lot. I mean, this is a strange thing too. I mean, for it's worse, but I have noticed with myself when I write emails to people that I'm just very abrupt. And so I will put an email into AI quite frequently and say, will you soften my tone? I mean, like, how would a nice person say, I mean, I think I'm right. How would a nice person phrase
Yeah.
this? You know, I mean, it
Yeah.
doesn't sound like bark,
Yeah.
bark, bark.
Yeah.
Do the things. You
But
know,
I think
so-
using
Yes.
it in like cases like that, that's like
Yeah.
normal. I don't know. I think like the more like dependent we fall on it, like I said, technology gets crazier and crazier each day.
Yeah.
So more
Yeah.
people are gonna be using it.
Yeah.
The other part, though, I think also, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but I get really excited about this, but, you know, every time that there is a sea change in technology, I think it is incumbent upon people like me who teach to recognize the world as it is becoming.
Yeah.
Because we can get really lazy, I mean, to be honest, because we're used to doing things a certain way, right? And we've had this great test and it's worked for so long or whatever.
Yeah.
And it may not be, you may not be teaching the students the relative skills, the relevant skills that they need to move forward at this point. So if incorporating AI into your documents or into your thought process is part of the deal, should kind of raise the bar, right? I mean,
That's how I see
yeah,
it.
yeah.
If you're using it as a tool, then it's, yeah, you're definitely raising, you're getting a lot out of something because it's saving you a lot of time.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's only getting more advanced.
Yeah.
Right? So.
But if you are just like, write my program for me, you're not helping yourself, because you're gonna have to maintain that program at some point. And if you don't understand it when you're making it, you're definitely not gonna understand it when it's broken. So, yeah, using tools like that is good, but if you're, like you said, crutching it a little bit.
So do
You
you
need
feel
to
like AI
reevaluate.
is a sea change, or do you think does it feel like a more, I mean, coming from your background, does it feel more like a gradual progression, or is it just now being commoditized so that
It has been around for a while. I mean, a lot of like the facial recognition technologies and things like that. I mean, I made a facial recognition program in my AI class. It's not that hard. Neural networks are pretty simple to implement and use for that task. They're fancy now. I'm sure they're a lot more efficient and things like that, but it's been around for a long time. It hasn't been adopted very widely because I think because of the sci-fi-ness of it, you know, a lot of people think it's just weird and don't understand it. But it's really, artificial intelligence isn't thinking machines, and that's really the first thing you should understand about it. Is it's really a suite of tools that are designed to look for answers to specific problems, and there's a huge array of types of AI tools, and it's all algorithms. There's search trees, there's neural networks, there's random search, there's guided search, there's all sorts of search algorithms, and that's basically what they are. These large language models are just searching the internet and parsing it out with, you know, really fancy understanding of English language. You know, they're just search tools. They're not. I think attributing thought to them at this point is a little wishful thinking.
so maybe AI is not an accurate name for the whole, I mean, in the sense of human
Yeah,
intelligence.
I don't know how self-aware they are, because I've heard some crazy things. I mean, you hear some crazy things. Like you ask questions like, if you were Satan, how would you deceive the world? I've seen Facebook videos of this, and the answers are pretty amazing. But I just don't know how much to evolve. You need to have memory, and I don't know how much memory they have. I guess they usually are just like, go out, answer this question for this person, you know, put in here. So I guess that's all in the design of the AI.
So earlier you were talking about like a type of AI where like an expert puts in all that information, right? And that's the response it's given, right?
Yeah.
Do you think it's like possible to like, I guess, incorporate one person and they give like as much as they can about themselves over like a span of like a year or two, and then release the AI and like have it like, I guess, like give questions or something and
Yeah.
like compare it to the person? And how one to
Maybe.
one do you think that could like?
I don't think it would be very one-to-one, depending on the other sources of data that are coming in for it. You know, if you're talking internet, that internet is so crazy. There's so much junk out there that it's just gonna tweak your results like pretty quickly. I think.
Do you
There's-
think
there's
we'll come to
ways-
a spot where like we probably will hit that era where it's like we can have AIs think for themselves, you know?
Maybe.
Like, the
I
jump from like
think
the
we
last,
need more server farms if we're gonna get there.
yeah, especially, obviously, but
Yeah. I-
like you said,
I
it's
just
been
think-
around since the seventies, right?
Yeah.
So look
And-
at how it's evolved from the
Yeah.
seventies all the way to now.
Yeah.
Do you think that's like that jump? Do you think we can jump? You know?
Maybe with quantum computing, I don't know. Yeah.
Do you think we could get like different AIs to work together to like,
Yeah.
build a
Oh,
new
yeah,
one,
for sure.
and then it
Collaboration,
could be even
sure.
better?
Yeah, maybe. Better, I don't know. I don't know about better. I've seen so much hallucination, even in a fairly guided, like, question, like, trying to solve a specific problem. I've seen just some just out there, like, really, where did you get that?
Yeah.
Answers that, and the problem with AI is it doesn't know when it's deceived.
Good
It doesn't know
information.
if the information is good.
Yeah.
So it trusts everything. So, well, it does, but there's bad information in those verified
I get what you're
sources.
saying.
So,
No,
yeah.
I'm saying like, what do you, what would, like, we could create an AI that like only takes from sources that are like verified
Yeah,
by the experts, like you
Sure.
said, like incorporate that into it, you know?
yeah, you could do something like that, and you could maybe weight answers from known experts more heavily, and, the creativity in that area I'm a little suspicious of, because I don't know where the variance or the spark would come. If you just, yeah, I don't know.
I kind of think it's interesting, I've not put this together until this discussion, which I appreciate all the input from students too. You can see this is an interesting topic.
Yeah, it is.
Too. But it really kind of ties back to the old-fashioned concept of information literacy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like back in traditional days before the internet, English teachers, you have a background in English too, that's so fantastic because, but English teachers would identify like, you could sort of grade information just on like what it looked like. Like a book was something more perennial, and then you would have professional journals, and then you would have like magazines, and then you had newspapers. And so just physically picking it up and looking at it, you had a sense of how static that information was or how accepted it was.
Sure.
And then when the internet sort of became the main source of everybody's information, even for research, you sort of lose that physical cue. So everybody looks the same. I mean, or they can.
Even papers on it, like even
Oh, gosh, yeah.
journal papers
Yeah.
on the internet. I mean,
You can find some weird stuff out there.
and
For
you don't
sure.
know how rigorous the research is or if it's even real. And there's just a lot. If it's not coming out of a established journal or whatever publication,
Yes.
I just don't know how you can trust it. And then there's a lot of like, upload your thesis paper on whatever.com or whatever. And
The open source stuff.
yeah, open source stuff. And it's a great place if you're not plugged into the research community, but it's also kind of like the internet. It's kind of a
It
wild
is.
west. Like,
Yeah.
you might get good information, you might get total junk. So you have to be careful with the information that you ingest.
Yeah.
And trust. And trust is the main thing. You can ingest it, but just treat it with some skepticism, especially if it's coming from AI.
Not AI related at all, but
Cool.
what kinds of math do you use most often? And for someone who maybe struggles with math and
Yeah.
has a lot of like gaps in their math knowledge, like, you think that like computer science still has something to offer to
Yes.
someone like that?
Oh yeah, if you have a logical mind, you don't need advanced math. Advanced math is the backbone of computer science is math. So there is a lot of math in there, but it's not like calculus or differential equation. that stuff is really useful for simulating things, making environments that are realistic and trying to simulate nature. But if you're just talking, if you want to make a program that does some thing that no one's done before, as long as you know the area that you're working in, that computer science, it's just going to be logic. Business logic is a big chunk of it, how you store your data. That stuff, it has math underpinning it, but you can just know it. You don't have to like understand all the deep math and how they arrived at it in the 70s when they invented all this stuff. Because literally, the 70s, everything we have now came from that. I mean, those guys are amazing. But yeah, so you don't have to have advanced math. It can be helpful. There are concepts that are very useful in like calculus, differential equations that kind of elevate how you think about the world. So like calculus is all about rates of change, and differential equations is kind of similar. Those things help you kind of conceptualize a little bit better. Just because you can't solve a derivative or do an integration that's really hard, that doesn't make you better than someone else or worse. Computing is so much different than just math. So math is important, but it's not going to make or break a computer science degree.
Actually, I thought about it. I was gonna ask that, if you had to design an AI, like how would you do that?
Me?
Yourself, yeah. Because where would you even start? Like, how does someone look at like, I'd be like, I'm gonna make an AI, and then,
Yeah.
you know?
So with my area that I did, genetic algorithms, you really have to have a very specific question that you're asking, and you have to be able to represent that question, the solution to that question in a data structure or something that you can tweak. So that's a very narrow set of problems. There's a lot of problems that don't work like that.
Like, how would you factor in like any question? Because like I can go to ChatGPT
Yeah.
and be like, what is
That's where
this?
the large language models are trying to do, I think, where they're trying to take advantage of language as a concept and as a computing resource kind of thing. But I mean, how do you make a good one of those? I'm still amazed at some of the good and bad that I see in just my use of it, daily. So how would I go about it? I would hire someone smarter than me.
That's usually how like the big people are too.
Yeah.
They're really good at finding people.
Yeah. I mean,
They're like, do my
that's
work, you know?
yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not a problem I'm interested in, I guess, is what I'm saying there. If I was more interested in the problem, I would think more on it. But yeah. With AI, and except for these large language models, it's usually a very tailored solution to a specific problem. A lot of papers in the area that I did my stuff in were solving one or two problems with a novel way of combining their search population or whatever, and trying to figure out if their way of doing it was better than other people's ways. But you can always find that problem that your search algorithm is just going to nail it every time and get it in like 5 tries or whatever, and some other person's algorithm is just going to get stuck over here and never get out of there. So there is a lot in genetic algorithm and that kind of a search thing. It's very problem oriented, and even with like neural networks and things like that, like there's neural networks to control systems, there's neural networks to recognize faces, there's neural networks to do character recognition. There's all sorts of neural networks, but they're very specialized.
So how accurate do you think, like, I'll get off of the AI
Oh, you're
topic,
good.
simulations, right? Like,
Yeah.
you like working with simulations. that, right?
Yeah.
Would you say so? Like, you talked about it. But
So, all right, so in my case, my advisor is very proud of my work. He checks it every year. And our model has been pretty successful in showing so if you take the CDC map of the flu virus and you see the first state that turns red, if that was in our model, he'll track it, and he's told me it's been right as far as where it's gone red next
so,
every year.
okay, so
So,
that's really accurate.
Yeah. So, but the thing is once I did my project was weird because I was doing a simulation as my fitness function where we said, okay, it started here. We ran the simulation for 100 steps or whatever to see how long it went. And then what we were trying to do is figure out how to allocate some vaccinations. And we didn't have a good idea at the time because we weren't really approaching it from a position of background knowledge. We didn't have a lot of virus, we were
Medical knowledge. and
medical
stuff like
people.
that, right?
I tried to take some medical classes, some epidemiology classes, and they wouldn't let me take them. You have to be in the med school to do it. That made me so mad. But anyways, so yeah, once we figured out that there was actually kind of a rationale to that part and did some more math analysis of our model, it kind of helped us understand the strategy for using the vaccine was to just put it all into the city that got hit first to kill it right away. And that was kind of the thing. And then if it started in 2 cities, you did the ones that were traveled to the most because you catch more people with the vaccination. And so yeah, they can be accurate for problems that have natural or kind of what am I trying to say? If there are rules governing the system that are kind of either that can be predicted mathematically or have kind of a natural, because nature tends to kind of adhere to trends and things, and that's why simulations can be pretty accurate. I mean, you can get a simulation totally wrong. I mean, the weather guys, they're wrong all the time, but they also use supercomputers and they're dealing with massive amounts of things, so it's not surprising. But yeah, I don't know. It just depends on the system that you're working with. I don't know. I don't have a good answer. I'm sure there are more. I've been out of the game for so long that my brain doesn't really think of in a research mode very much.
We had to use simulation in our science class to factor in take different color of a species. We had to introduce them to different area.
Yeah.
And see how they spread off and how the nature, I guess, adapts to them or how they adapt to nature.
Okay.
Cool. And I think it was with mice. I don't know if it was in our class, but we had to do something with mice.
Yeah.
It was the brown mice
Mm-hmm.
in it was a volcano area where the rocks were black.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of the light colored the abnormalities, they were killed off. The white mice.
So,
And the simulation was spot on to what we were researching. I think that was where she was getting. She made us do the simulation first, and then we had to research what the whole thing was, and it was something to do with some other country. I forgot, but
that's cool.
It's crazy how some simulations they're spot on because they factor in the possibilities. And I think it's cool that math there's an equation for the probability.
If you can boil down with those simulations, if you can boil down the essential factors that are involved, that's all it is. I mean, and there's always those X factors that you didn't know existed. But I mean, if you go back and look at your data, you're going to find those X factors.
So there's a really interesting one. There's a really interesting study, and this is something they've since
figured this out.
Mhm.
But there was data that came out about 30 years ago that indicated that if a woman, while she was pregnant, drank coffee in any level, that it would, that the babies tend to be smaller and more sickly and everything. And this was a big deal to me because this was when we were starting our family, and I'm an addict. I've been drinking coffee since I was 8 years old. So, this was a big, really big problem for me. So I talked to my doctor about it, and he said, well, if you're moderate, if you have a cup or maybe 2 cups a day, I think everything's fine. So what they found out later was there was a comorbidity, is what it amounted to with coffee drinkers. And what it is that coffee drinkers smoke cigarettes at a much higher rate than non-coffee drinkers.
Yeah.
So when you get enough data and you filter out the smokers and you compare coffee drinkers who don't smoke to two people who don't drink coffee, that the infant mortality or the infant outcomes are very similar, and that the real pull
Mhm.
is when you're smoking.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. And then there was another one where there's been a bunch of data that's come out in the last 10 years that says moderate drinkers, and moderate drinking is actually good for you, but it's actually not. Because when you factor in non-drinkers, you get a lot of people who don't drink for health reasons, including past alcoholism. So it's like, if you factor that out and you take healthy non-drinkers compared to healthy moderate drinkers, healthy non-drinkers win in every single category. So, but it's funny because when the data comes out, you want to know, what does it mean? Does this mean that I'm not a drinker, so should I have a glass of wine with dinner?
Yeah.
It's
Are
like,
those
no.
phytonutrients actually in there or not?
So you're saying just because say the factors,
Right.
say they're good or bad,
Yes.
you can go deeper and figure out.
What else
Yeah.
is there? And I was thinking about that when you said that with the mice, because a lot of things with genetic mutations go along with other genetic mutations. So in other words, mice are really great because you can separate out the genetic code pretty simply because they're simple animal, and also, of course, they do another generation every couple of days. But with human beings, the genetic code is quite complicated, right? I mean, it's like, so if you have blue eyes, what else does that mean? It means other things, right? It means you have other things that go along with that. So you have to factor out all of those.
So
Confound
you're
factors.
saying with humans, you need years and years of data, right?
Yes.
Because generations, change
Yes.
over time, right?
Yes.
And
Even the double-blind studies they talk about with pharmaceuticals
Yes.
and things are not sufficient. That's why they have the laundry list of side effects. I mean, they just can't.
Because they just don't know, somebody had that effect.
Yeah.
Somebody,
It could
yeah.
I don't know, I think it's crazy how they do those widespread tests on people.
Mhm.
They're like you were saying, pharmaceutical companies are huge for that. Or
It's unethical. And I shouldn't say it is unethical, but I mean, you're walking a line, right?
Definitely,
It's from
yeah.
ethics and that. There's a lot of things like that too in populations with humans, because, for example, let's just say that you really thought that cigarette smoking was bad for pregnant women. Well, it would be extraordinarily unethical to ask a group of women who are pregnant to smoke, right? I mean, you get good data that way, but it's like, that's completely out of bounds in terms of human behavior. So, and you can kind of, whether you should or not, you can kind of do that with mice, right? I mean, nobody's going to put you in prison for, for that. But yes, there's really, so you don't really have any controlled studies, especially when it comes to human nutrition and human behaviors. I mean, most everything.
That's a hot topic right now, nutrition.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, there's just tons of stuff that.
Eggs are bad one year and they're great the
Oh
next
my
year.
gosh.
That's the crazy one. I mean,
Yes.
salt is bad, salt is good.
When I was bad, butter was bad, and
Yeah.
margarine was good, and now they put out margarine, it's like
It's
eating plastic.
Lethal.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly, so
Don't eat
it's like-
margarine.
I also find it interesting, when, say, we take COVID, right? The
Yes.
vaccines, they could produce those out pretty fast,
Yes.
they did testing on people, but
Right,
the effects, say 10 years, we can't see that far,
yes.
there's kind of that thin area.
And those vaccines, those vaccines were pretty novel, they were pretty new technology-wise, and that's
Yeah,
why
there's
they
a
had so
whole
many
debate,
problems. Yeah.
of people who were I'm not gonna take them, I don't know what's gonna happen
I was
in a
one of
few
those.
years.
I
And
have
then
not
there's,
been vaccinated.
Yeah.
that.
Have you ever had COVID?
I've never.
So, but it wasn't that bad though. I mean, I haven't hospitalized.
So did you know there's also, and I'll stop on this, I get really excited about this, there's a correlation between blood type and how badly you
Yeah.
respond to COVID, so.
Oh,
I was one of the lucky ones.
Crazy how there were people who were like, they were infected, but like, they did no symptoms. no
Right.
nothing.
Super
They
spreaders.
Spread it, yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I was one of them, because I was around, like, my whole family got COVID. Like, I was staying in Idaho at the time. I was working over a summer. And everyone that I was staying with got COVID, but me. So I ended up taking care of everyone. But like, a year go by, and like, they're talking about people who were like spreading it, and I'm like, maybe I gave them COVID, but I showed no symptoms, you know?
Yeah.
And that's
Possible.
one of my sons did that. He went into work one day, he was working as a welder in Casper, and he accused the office manager of giving them cheap coffee because coffee just tasted off.
Yeah.
And they kind of had a little tip over it because she's like, this is the same coffee you've been drinking every day, Mike. And he's like, no, it's not, it tastes terrible. And then it turned out he
Yeah,
had COVID.
yeah.
So, but
That's funny.
then, and he only knew that he was donating blood and was tested and had the COVID monoclonal antibodies.
That's funny that
See,
he
and then
found
he
out
was-
through a blood test. too.
He's like, well, I guess
He would have never known that. If he
Never.
had that blood test.
except for the secretary who's cheating him,
Yeah.
just ripping him off with the bad coffee, see, so that's.
You could tell.
Yeah, so can I add one more thing, and then I want to just turn, this is such an exciting conversation when you hear all
Yeah,
this
it's fun.
participation, it's like, but I wanted to point out to, I wanted to say something to Trinity about what you asked. I think that is a very important question about math in computer science. And I believe that academia is, I think industry has recognized that for a long time, that you really don't need to have a humongous amount of math to be a successful computer scientist, but I think academics is getting caught up. And so, it used to be really that computer programming, computer science was just an extension of electrical engineering and maybe computer engineering.
Yeah.
And now I think there's that solutions-based, like software development,
Yeah.
or some colleges offer, instead of being a Bachelor of Science in computer science, they offer a Bachelor of Arts in computer science,
Yeah.
which is still more oriented toward the solution and the logic, but the softer side of math skills.
I think learning the craft is really important. The science helps because it gives you ways to be more efficient and to do things the best way. But learning how to program and how to make things, that's a journey in itself. And part of my background, so my time at UW is all theory. I mean, I learned data structures, I learned about operating systems, I learned about networks, but I didn't know how to program other than C++, how to make a linked list, like that's not useful. Those are already implemented, you use them if you need them, but so learning how to program by doing programming is actually a lot better than just pure science. Science helps guide your like how well you do something, because if you know, if I have this data structure here and I have to search it, it's going to cost this much compute time versus this data structure here, which is even more or less or whatever. Those things are great to know, but those are things you can memorize. You don't have to know like how to prove that binary search is order in square or whatever it is. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. You don't have to know those things. You can look them up. If you need, I need an efficient way to do this, you can use a tool like AI, and it'll tell you, hey, use a hash map or use a whatever, whatever your problem is. So, like I said, the main thing with programming is knowing an area, knowing the thing that you want to do, knowing that really well, knowing the tools, the techniques, and the things that create the software is also helpful. So practicing those is good. Picking up some computer science is great, but so I actually got an interview with Raytheon.
Wow.
I didn't go. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm gonna go to this.
That's quite impressive.
Yeah. I'm gonna go to this interview and I'll be like, I know what a linked list is. And at the time, I was talking to my class, but I had no faith they knew what I was doing, because all I knew was just rules and little kind of scientific things that I didn't really feel like I had the knowledge to apply. And that was part of my lack of a background knowledge in a field. And that's where being a computer science minor might be really good, where maybe major in something that you're more interested in and have that computer science to kind of guide development of something that you want to make. Computer science is a really great field though too. I mean, it's really deep. So you can go into AI, you can go into the really hardcore weird math where you're using betting schemes to compute things, which is, don't even ask me about that because it's beyond me, but there's a lot of weird mathematical things you can go into, but there's also a lot of really practical areas you can kind of become an expert in, like if you really like networks. That's a lot of graph theory, but that's not like high order math. It's not like doing a derivative of some crazy, thing. So there's a lot that you don't need super advanced math. I mean, being comfortable with math is important because you are using a lot of numbers and you're counting things a lot. You're flipping through structures. Maybe you're taking some averages, doing some statistical analysis of things. If you're doing any kind of graphics, you're doing lots of math there, but figuring out ways to represent things in graphs and things like that takes a little bit of math. But really, you can do it. You can do it.
Excellent.
Well, do you guys have any more questions for Lucas?
That's great. Thank you so much for being here. This is just awesome. And Lucas and tell me your title here at Northwest College.
I'm a computing services coordinator
There
and
you go.
database system administrator.
Good. And you're where?
I'm in
are you
Warrior
still
102.
Okay. I know they moved everybody
Yeah,
all over,
I
so-
got moved. Tracy took my spot. Tracy took Andy's spot, and the grants manager took my
Did
spot.
they ever ask you to help with like IT?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have to. I'm responsible for the IT of all my servers and stuff. So I have to do all my updates and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm definitely ITing it up every month with Windows, Microsoft updates.
Hey, if you know, you might as well do it.
Yeah. And that's my least favorite part of the job, but it's not terrible. It's just gotta usually do it on the weekend.
When you have some uninterrupted time, when you can just come up here for an hour and just do it and get it done, is that kind of the way it works? Or just because nobody's on the network?
I do it from home, and I do it on the weekend on Saturday. I used to do it on Sundays, but I ended up breaking things and not finding out until Monday.
Yeah, okay.
So I started doing it on Saturdays. So if there's a Saturday and you can't get into the portal, it might be me.
So, good to know. Good to
Now I
know.
know.
And I put a little notice up when I do maintenance. So if you see a little announcement thing, it says, doing maintenance this weekend. Watch
Very
out.
nice. Well, and I think I just really appreciate Lucas coming to talk to us, and I think it's really important for people when you're starting to look at your own career and thinking about what you can do, and I think it's so interesting because, first of all, you have a really diverse background, and then second of all, you've done some different things. And
Yeah.
one of the things we didn't really spend a lot of time talking about today, but you worked for the state of Wyoming government for quite a while, so that's a
Yeah.
whole other set of deals. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't miss having to wear a collared shirt every day.
there you go, so choose your.
I do like slacks though, I'll tell you what. They're comfy.
What's the other option, but never mind.
Yeah,
So, also, I went to a Lyle Lovett concert one time, and he had a song called Pants is Overrated, and I thought,
Oh, yeah.
I'm not.
That's how
So anyway, there
my
you go.
son is right now.
Oh,
As soon as
how
he gets
old is
home,
he?
he's 5.
Oh,
He'll just be
yep,
underwear boy.
nudists, I know. Yep, that's awesome.
It's pretty cool.
So, well, thank you very much. Thanks for being here today. So this is great. I appreciate that. So, yeah, I'll get my stuff turned off, but thank you again. Sure do appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. Have a wonderful day. Thanks again. All right, you guys, thanks for everything. So let's see, I'm going to stop recording.
This will be up on our Moodle page, so if there's something that you want to revisit,